again, in this lesson we're going to be still talking about literal equations. We're going to look at some special cases. So let's look at the situation where we have the equation ax minus bx equals c. We're solving this literal equation for x. So as soon as we see that, we might notice that x is occurring in two different places. And these are unlike terms. We can't combine the ax and the bx. When that's the situation, follow these steps. So we have ax and minus bx. How do we get the x's together? How can we combine them? We can use the distributive property in reverse, or in other words, we can factor out an x. So we factor out an x. That means we're dividing both of these quantities by x, and x comes out front, and we're left with whatever's left over from each term. So divide by x, we have an a, bring down our subtraction sign, divide by x, we're left with b. So you can see in reverse that if I was to distribute this x through, I would get the line before. So now we've pulled the two x's together, and we've got one x in our equation. So now we have this term. So if it was a number, if it was like 5, we would just divide both sides by 5. But we can still divide both sides by this expression, a minus b. So we'll divide on the left side, and the a minus b will cancel, and on the right side we're just going to get this expression c divided by a minus b. So let's look at another example that uses that same method. So again, notice you've got x in two places. We can't combine rx and px, so we're going to have to factor or use the distributive property in reverse. So on the left hand side we have negative t, x in two places, so x divides out, and we're left with r plus p in parentheses. Again, you could imagine distributing that x through, and we'd get back right where we started. We want to get the x all by itself, so now it is time to divide by r plus p. We'll do that to both sides, and we'll just rewrite it here so it is nice and neat. So we have negative. You put the negative out front if you want, or you can put it in the numerator. Those would be my recommendations. R plus p is equal to x, and that is our expression solved for x. Okay, sometimes when we're solving literal equations, we're doing it within the context of a formula. So here's a formula we see from geometry. C equals 2 pi r. This is the formula for the circumference of a circle. So what is the radius of a circle with a circumference of 64 feet? So notice they gave us the 64, the c here. They kind of gave us the answer. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to go ahead and solve this equation for r, because that's what we're looking for. Now, r is here, pi is written there. Now don't be confused, pi actually really isn't a number, isn't a variable, it's a number. So you could just think of this as another term. It doesn't really matter if you see it as a letter, if you see it as a number, but either way we're going to divide both sides by 2 pi. So divide by 2 pi, the 2 pi cancels over here, and no need to do it in two steps. You can divide by 2 and then by pi, sure, but might as well just divide by 2 pi all at once. We get c over 2 pi is equal to r. So since we're going to use approximately 3.14 for pi, and we were given 64 for the circumference. 64 over 2 times 3.14 is approximately 10.2. So our radius is approximately 10.2. Great. So let's use another example. What is the height of a triangle that has an area of 24 inches squared and a base of 8 inches? So here's the area formula for a triangle. Area equals 1/2 base times height. We're going to rewrite that for h. So here's our equation. Okay, BH. Alright, so let's go ahead, and even though you could go ahead and divide both sides by 1/2 b, I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 2 just so it's clear and I don't end up with a fraction within a fraction. The 2 and the 1/2 will cancel. I have 2a on the other side is equal to bh, and I'm going to divide both sides by b. So here I have 2a over b is equal to h. Great. So let's plug in what we know. So that's 2a is 24, and that's over our base is 8, and that's going to be equal to h. So I'm going to go ahead and say 2 goes into 2 once, into 8 4 times, and 24 divided by 4 is 6 equals h. So we rewrote the equation here, and we used it to find a value h.